In the spring of 208, Gan Ning brought his dissatisfied followers to Jiangdong, where Zhou and Lu Meng recommended his talent to Sun Quan. He was treated like an old friend by his new lord, where he mentioned that Huang was defending Jiangxia, the city famed for being the cradle of the Huang clan. He revealed that Huang was already old, and that his right-hand men only knew how to bully lower-ranked officials. The Han Empire is declining day by day. Cao Cao is becoming increasingly arrogant, and he will eventually usurp the throne. The southern territories in Jing province are accessible in terms of travelling by land or water. The western domain of the empire lies there. Based on my observation of Liu Biao, he won't last long because his sons are incapable of inheriting his jurisdiction. My lord, you should take control of these lands soon, lest Cao Cao seizes them later. The best plan now is to attack Huang first. He is old and muddle-headed, he lacks funding and supplies, cheats those around him, and is only concerned with making personal gains. His subordinates are already unhappy with him because of his overbearing demands. His warships and military equipment are damaged and haven't been repaired in years. He neglects agriculture, his army is ill-disciplined. If you attack him now, you will surely win. Zhang Zhao strongly objected because the Wu territories had not been completely pacified, but Sun Quan raised his glass to Gan Ning and said, "Xingba, I have decided to put you in charge of the campaign this year, just as I offer you this drink. You should strive your best to come up with a strategy, then you need not worry about Zhang Zhao's words." Sun Quan appointed Ling Tong to lead the vanguard, Lu Meng to be the naval commander, and Zhou Yu as acting front commander to regulate the operation of the 25,000 Wu soldiers. Next, he prepared 2 boxes for containing the heads of Huangzu and Su Fei, and announced the objectives for the campaign. Avenge Sun Jian, eliminate Huangzu and conquer Jiangxia in order to open up a path to dominate Jing province. A massive unknown number of troops awaited them across the way, but at least 30,000 men were under Huangzu's command. He responded to Sun Quan's aggression by appointing Zhang Shuo as his vanguard and Chen Jiu as his admiral, but this time he stayed safely behind the walls of Jiangxia in order to stay out of the actual conflict. Zhang Shuo led his troops on a large vessel to make a military observation on the riverbank, but he was easily spotted by Ling Tong. He had already zipped along on a light vessel far ahead of the main army, with only tens of his closest warriors. He was able to climb aboard Zhang Shuo's ship, most likely under the cover of night and maybe disguised as the enemy. He then led his men to surprise Zhang Shuo, who was slain, and his remaining marines were all captured. Ling Tong reported back to Sun Quan before leading another attack on the enemy, advancing on both land and water this time. Huangzu immediately ordered Chen Jiu to block the entrance of the Mianku River with 2 of his largest ships when he heard that his vanguard had fallen. The Mengchongs were covered with oxhide for protection and positioned at a choke point on the river. Long ropes made from koya palm fibre were attached from one ship to another, crossing over and securing the entrance through a waterway. In addition to all these defensive measures, Huangzu also sent his strongest men and 1,000 crossbowmen to the nearby cliffsides. Zhou Yu had sent his large vessels forward first, but they were blocked from advancing, then fired upon by the archers as large rocks and flaming debris was thrown down from the cliff. Zhou Yu realised he could not advance against a heavy crossfire as the Wu army suffered great casualties after only several hours of fighting. Knowing that his only option was to press forward, he had Ling Tong and Dongxi pick out 100 die-hard soldiers. These commandos wore 2 suits of armour each as they boarded a large boat and charged the enemy ranks despite the danger. Through fierce fighting, the warriors eventually broke through, where Dongxi managed to cut the rope with his sword, successfully breaking the connections between the 2 vessels. The Mengchongs drifted apart, which greatly inspired the fighting spirit of the men of Wu. With the path now open, the bulk of Sun Quan's army then resumed its advance. Lu Meng led the navy, then charged forward to engage in melee combat, facing off against Chen Jiu and killing him in a duel. Now acting without an admiral, Huangzu's massive navy was doomed to fall apart, so Ling Tong broke through instead, leading a separate command straight towards Jiangxia. True to his combative nature, he successfully captured the city before the enemy navy was completely destroyed by the rest of the Wu forces. Huangzu had already fled the city, but a horseman named Feng Zi gave chase to secure the main objective for Sun Quan. Huangzu's head was removed from his body and placed in a container as a specific request for Sun Quan. As the Wu forces took their tens of thousands of captives back east, the prisoner of war Su Fei urgently asked someone to inform Gan Ning, who said, "If Su Fei didn't say anything, then I would have forgotten all about him." The following day, Sun Quan held a banquet to celebrate the victory. The purpose of today's feast is to honour the person who cut the rope. It was also mentioned that Cao Cao was marching south, so Sun Quan gave up on the idea of keeping hold of Jiangxia. Liu Qi tried to succeed Huangzu instead, but he didn't have time to secure himself before Cao Cao arrived in Jing. Wen Ping was assigned as the new governor over Jiangxia, so Liu Qi went to Han Ford instead, where he met with Liu Bei. After receiving Huangzu's head, Sun Quan presented it as a sacrifice to Sun Jian at his ancestral temple. Gan Ning left his seat and knelt down before Sun Quan. He kowtowed until his face was covered in blood. With tears in his eyes, he pleaded with Sun Quan. "I owe Su Fei a favour. If not for him, I'd have been long dead, and my body abandoned in a ravine. I would never have been able to serve under you, so even though his actions warrant death, I still hope you can spare him." Sun Quan was skeptical and worried that Su Fei would leave if he was spared, so Gan Ning vouched for him. "He will be grateful if he is spared from death. He won't leave even if you try to chase him away. Why would he still count his own doom? If he really does that, I'm willing to use my head to replace his in the box." Sun Quan then pardoned Su Fei and deemed Lu Meng's contributions to be the most significant because Chen Jiu's death secured their victory, so he awarded him with 10 million coins, which appeased Sun Jian's spirit. Ling Tong's father, however, was still not avenged. He constantly provoked Gan Ning for killing Ling Tao with an arrow rather than in close combat at the Battle of Jiangxia. In the end, Sun Quan settled their conflict by exiling Gan Ning to a place called Half Island, which Ling Tong deemed as fair. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.